In the third part of this application, we are going to use regular expressions to extract the values we need to export to the database from the output returned by the router as a result of the show commands you saw in the previous lecture. For now, we are going to take care only of the values we need to insert into our MySQL inventory, namely the network devices table. As a guideline, let's go into the MySQL command line interface and see the columns we need to fill in using the describe command. So, describe network devices. Okay, so these are the values we need from each router. Now let me uncomment this print statement right here and run the application so we can see the entire output returned by the routers. So python netmon.py, sqlip.txt, sqlssh.txt, and finally sqlcon.txt. Okay, so this is the output we get from all the routers. This is the output from the commands we sent to R1, for example. This is from R3, then for R5, and so on. Also, notice the commands we sent via SSH. So let's see, show processes CPU, include CPU utilization, show IP interface brief, show IP protocols, and so on. Okay, now let me comment this print statement back and save the application. And now let's extract the first parameter we need for the network devices table, the hostname. So using the search method from the RE module, we are going to search for the hostnames. Let's search it visually before discussing the code. Okay, so let's get back to the output. Okay, so there it is. For R5 uptime is, so this is the hostname right here. In our regular expression code, let me move this a bit. In our code, this means we should capture the characters which exist before a space character and the words uptime is. So using a dot to represent any character except a new line, and the plus sign, which means one or more repetitions of the previous pattern, we can build a group by enclosing it with parentheses. Next, using the group of one method right here, one because this is the first and only group in the pattern, we can extract whatever will be matched by the syntax inside the parentheses. That string will be the hostname we need. For a recap of regular expressions, you can revisit the regular expressions section. Now I'm not going to discuss each regular expression you see here because that would take a lot of time, and I assume that you are already able to work with regular expressions, having the string to search in and the necessary knowledge. I encourage you to test each of these regular expressions here by making use of the print statements you see after each one. So print MAC, print vendor, print model, and so on. However, I am going to walk you through three of them, which are a bit more than simple pattern matching. First, let's look on how the uptime in seconds is extracted. Let's see how it looks in the Cisco CLI. So this is the uptime right here, 1 hour and 20 minutes for R5. Let's see it for R3. R3, 1 hour and 20 minutes as well. Okay. Now the uptime we have on our routers has a rather small value, but you can have something much bigger here, like an uptime which involves years or weeks or days. So this would apply to larger uptime values. However, we should take this into account when writing the regular expression and determining the uptime in seconds. So what I did here is I searched and matched this group here. So this one over here, meaning one or more repetitions of any character, except the new line, of course, followed by a new line, since there is nothing after the uptime in the Cisco CLI output, as we can see here. So 1 hour and 20 minutes, and this is the end of the line. After extracting that group, that substring, I used the split method to build a list of smaller substring associated with the years, weeks, days, hours, or minutes. So looking back at our output, you can see that we should split the string using a comma and a space as a separator. Next, using a for loop, I am iterating over this list, and if an element has the word years inside it, Then it splits that element further using the space as a delimiter and extracts the numerical part. It then multiplies that number of years with the number of seconds in a year and stores it in a variable, y_sec. The same is done for the other substrings for weeks, days, hours, and minutes. Now a router may have a small uptime like we have on our devices in GNS3, and cases like years or weeks or days may not be applicable. That's why I have initialized all these variables with the value of 0. If we don't have years in our uptime string, then that variable will keep its value of 0 when we are adding everything at the end. The total uptime in seconds will be the sum of all these variables, and it is the value that is exported to the MySQL table. That's the value stored in this variable right here. Another thing you should be careful at when using regular expressions is matching special characters that already have a meaning in regular expression syntax. Like for example when extracting the image name. Let's say it in the output of the router, so this is it right here. It is enclosed by parentheses. These parentheses should be escaped using a backslash when you want to match the actual character, like you would do right here. So this is what I've done. This is the escaping character, the backslash, and this is the parentheses I wanted to escape. Finally, let's have a look at the code that extracts the routing protocols. I have it down here. Okay, this is it. So a matching is done after routing protocol is. This is pretty simple, but we have to separate the internal protocols from the external ones. So we are creating two empty lists. These two lists over here is internal and is external, and then iterating over the list of protocols generated by the findAll method, right here. If BGP is found in one of the elements in the list, then it will be appended to the isExternal list, this one over here, and this is the code. If BGP in protocol, then isExternal.append of protocol. For anything else, we have the isInternal list. Okay. At the end, we join the elements of each list using commas, thus building two strings ready to be exported to MySQL. Okay, this has been part 3. We have extracted all the parameters needed for the inventory table in our database. Note that depending on the model and iOS of the router, the output of some commands may be slightly different. You should first study the output of a command in the CLI before building your regular expressions. In this case, I used the Cisco 2691 router in GNS3 with iOS 12.4, so be careful at that. Now let's go on to part 4.